Nigeria Info. Good afternoon to you. It's always my pleasure having you on the other side of the radio. This time I wanted to take a trip to the Orashi region, specifically Ahoada-West local government area. Sometime last week, we talked about the flooding situation in that area. We spoke with Onam Okenya, who is, I think, is it the youth president of Ngene people, Ngene Assembly, I think. Yeah. And we spoke and we were told the situation. We're given a vivid picture of what is happening in Ahoada-West local government area as it relates to the flooding. Now, we have been told that the reason for the flooding is due to the shallow depth of the Orashi River. There was also the talk about not enough facilities to accommodate displaced persons. We got to learn that day that in some communities, certain facilities or structures have been put up by the various levels of government and institutions of government. However, the situation was still dire in other parts. Today, we will be revisiting that conversation because I am being told that it's a worsened situation. It's not getting better just yet. And we have now been told by a professor of community medicine and environmental health that the people in that region are liable or may likely come down with serious diseases, chemical diseases like mercury and radioactive materials. So to join me to have a conversation as to what is happening in that region today, for a few minutes, is the Chief Press Secretary of Ahoada-West local government area. I'm talking about Joe Esedi. Mr. Joe Esedi, it's good to have you. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, your name was well pronounced, Mr. Canada.
All right, it's a pleasure having you. So, can you start by telling us what is the current situation of things in the various affected communities in the Ahoada-West local government area?
Firstly, we know we have a flood situation in Ahoada-West, and it is not receding yet. In fact, the pressure of which the water is growing is a little bit surpassing what we thought initially. Because we watched the 2012 flood, we watched the 2018, 2022 floods. They seem to have a timeline. Before you start having November, the weather already started to go back. But so we predicted that this one will come in that likely manner. But what we have now is that it's a little bit beyond our scope of expectations, as it has always been. So the water is still flowing. The level of the water is growing very high. Yesterday, even this afternoon, I just returned back from Akinima. The water is more homes are being overtaken by the flood. People are leaving their homes more. And we are doing our best to ensure that the primary responsibility of the government of ensure that nobody is having a dire adverse effect of the flooding. We are doing that. We've created more IDP camps. We'll try to educate people to leave their homes more swiftly before they are overtaken by the flood and what happens around the flood. And as yesterday, we had issues of those who have refused to leave and issues of health and all of that. We are appealing to them. So basically, the flood is there, it's growing, the water is rising. Most of the passable roads, when your people came last time to look at the roads, Akinima to JK was passable by motor cars. But today, you have to use a canoe from the JK3 axis down. And so already you know that the 4 axis of the Okake, Wogolo, and all of that is already taking over. In fact, it's a pressure area that requires a speedboat around that area, and we are very aware. So the flood is there, and as a local government, we're doing our best to help the situation the most we can as a government.
Interesting. Before we get into the assessment of the CAMs, the facilities that have been set up by the local government and even the state government, can you tell us if you have done an assessment of the level of destruction on the properties and the livelihoods of people in Ahoada-West local government?
We have not exactly gotten the exact data of how many houses and how many persons. What we know is that 103 communities of Ahoada-West local government area have been affected by this flood. Maybe a few peaks of them have had their homes completely washed off by the flood waters. But there are no farmlands again you can pick even one crop from right now. That's the truth. All of the farmlands are gone, and then most of the communities, starting from those at the river bank, those from the Ward 9 axis where you have the Ombo, the Oshobeli, Odereke, and of course those from the Akinima, Mbiama, down to the Jankroma 1 to Jankroma 4, and then you sweep over to Okaki or Bogolo area. They are all completely taken off. But for an exact amount of human beings that have been affected, apart from those who enumerated who have come to the IDP camps, we don't have the total number of those actually affected by the flood. But we know that in 2006 rather, there was a census, and that census number kept Ahoada-West of around 600 and something thousand persons
that were affected.
And of course, you know what happens to population. We've overgrown that strength now. So we can take it as over 500,000 persons minimum have been affected by this flooding in Ahoada-West. But the communities, or in fact, all of the communities in Ahoada-West have been affected by this flooding. And most of the houses have been completely taken over by the flooding. And normal passable motor roads are no longer motor roads, are now roads for canoes, roads for speedboats. And that is why we are using every opportunity we have to tell the NGOs, state government, federal government. When the state government was here, the federal government took her time, spent quality time with the IDP campers, spoke to them, gave out relief materials. But we expect that beyond the deputy governor's visit, who is in charge of the flood committee, the SEMA should have come on their own to look at what's happening there and provide us the much needed support. Because I know that the deputy governor's committee must have interfaced with the SEMA in the state, and so we're expecting that SEMA would go beyond what the deputy governor's committee has done to come quickly and see how they can provide relief materials, especially food. For us as an LG, we're making sure nobody's sleeping on the road. Those who sleep on the road probably because of two reasons. One, of course, IDP camps will not be as comfortable as normal human beings who want to provide for themselves. They're a little bit jam-packed, a little bit having neighbors who are not your obvious regular neighbors around you. And so not everybody wants to be in that situation. But we're doing our best. In fact, Okaki people sent us information today thanking us for the new camp we provided in the primary school. We're doing our best. But some stuff cannot be done by us completely.
All right. So, sorry.
Come up reduced, so.
Sorry, before we get into all of that, because that's also part of the package today, I would like us to do an assessment of the IDP camps. What are the camps like? Before we now get to what the camps will need, for the people in the camps to feel a little bit comfortable, and what Rivers people can do to help, with the situation in the Ahoada-West region. Now, by the way, it's not just the Ahoada-West that is affected. The local governments that surrounded by the Orashi River are, mostly affected by the flooding. Now, Mr. Joe Esedi, we do have a quick commercial. When I do come back, I would ask you this question. So, do have time to think about the answer. What is the current situation of the various IDP camps? You have just said about 103 communities have been affected by the floodings. So when we do come back, you and I will talk some more. Do stay tuned. Experts say flood victims in Orashi at risk of chemical exposure. Flood tax communities in Onelga River State. NEMA to provide relief materials for flood victims in Ahoada-West River State. Gunmen kidnap Imo Catholic priest. Quarter John's trial of Yoruba Nation agitators. On the foreign scene, U.S. Democratic presidential candidates. U.S. presidential candidates Kamala Harris yet to concede defeat. Details in the 6 p.m. bulletin. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215.
This is Hard Facts.
All right, I still have Joe Esedi, Chief Publicity Secretary Ahoada-West Local Government Area, via the phone here on the show, and we are talking about the flooding situation in that local government area. Now, you had me read the headline news. Even on Nelga is affected. Like I said before the break, the local governments around the Orashi River are the ones suffering the flooding situation this year. All right, welcome back to the show. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So the question I asked before the commercial is, what is the situation of things at the various displaced persons camps?
Okay. First, the camps we have are not camps we just built as a government. We are using and designating public facilities. For them are schools. Some of them are town halls, just areas that are up on dry land. And so that's for the building facility. And then we provided mattresses, buckets, mosquito nets, and other relief materials, hard materials for them. And then for the food provision, we have been able to send first a batch of food supplies from the local government, and then also the batch of food supplies from the visited deputy governor to Ahoada-West. That is for the IDP camps. But what we have in IDP camps is much more than the number we had prepared for in the supplies we first sent. And so what we're doing at the day-to-day is, as we get reports, we have a 20-man flood committee as instituted by the Honorable the LGA chairman. And this will give us daily reports, and we send in the much we can things to the IDP camps, but not in the food items on the daily basis. That's why the worry is basically. The worry is that we are asking for the agencies who can assist to bring in a lot of food supplies. So as we give them mosquito nets, we give, as the health team are there, the MOH is there, Dr. Stanley Amadi with his team helping all of that. The Commission of Health is working round the clock on that. As we do all of that, let there be enough food supply, because these men and women can no longer go to farms to harvest, or can even have their shops where they sell from. Apart from the very small highland part of the Indian market that is still to be functional, the water is getting onto them. Just within a few days, water will get to the market. They are still the ones selling. But those who have businesses within the communities no longer have a livelihood. And so there's a need to keep them, feed them until the water comes and goes.
All right. I want to ask, how much are you spending on a daily basis to run the various displaced persons camps? How much, is it costing the local government or even the state government?
For each of the camps, according to the number of those who have been enumerated, for example, the camp in Akinema. The camp in Akinema has about 940 at the last count, and these persons are not completely fed 3 square meals. You should know that. What we gave to them were dry foods, the rice, the beans, the yam, and all of that. So the expenses to which we incurred will be given to you completely from the committee. I don't know how much they spent exactly, the committee distributing the foodstuffs, but I know that everybody were given this food item, yam, beans, curry, and stuff like that, other staple foods. How much was spent on the procurement of these things. I can't give that figure right away. But we know that if we were to estimate what should come to Ahoada-West now, we should be planning for at least 100,000 persons feeding per day going forward. And that's a lot of whatever we cannot cater for years.
100,000 persons.
Today is 6th of November.
Yeah.
This government is just 1 month in office.
Yeah.
The chairman was sworn in on the 6th of October after the election. And so within this 1 month in office, we have stretched ourselves, almost beyond what should be happening to us within the first 1 month, But be that as it may, we are containing the situation. But Ahoada-West is needing that provision. I know the governor, as proactive as he is, to have created a flood committee. Those around him are listening, and they know that they will provide us all of this. So we're just asking that people should come in a haste. The people there are Nigerians. I know, and let me react a little to what Nema said yesterday. I watched Nema on national television yesterday, and he mentioned, the Southern coordinator, he mentioned that until overwhelmed the state emergency committee, emergency outfit, they will not be able to come in. That is the bureaucracy in the process. But there is a national emergency already. The flood in Borno State, if I'm not quoting wrongly, did not take 2 weeks, 3 weeks before National Assembly came in, before the humanitarian agencies came in, before the Ministry of Social Welfare came in, even before the presidency came in. I saw the vice president of the country visiting, Mediguri when the flood happened. This flood is 9 weeks old in Ahoada-West. It's 9 weeks.
All right, so let's get the facts. Let's get the facts. You're saying that if anybody wants to bring relief materials, the person should be planning for about 100,000 people. Did I get you right?
If we get for even one person, whoever brought it has helped. As we're not saying you must come with us with 100,000 bags of rice before we open our arms to you. If the next person by me in Indiama, or the next person by me in Ikoji, or the woman somewhere in Odereke has a 10 kg rice to her to what she's trying to marry with her family, you have help. So they help coming already. The local government chairman, as proactive as effective he is, we just left Akinima. If you can call Akinima now, we just left Akinima. We stopped over after the whole Akinima axis. We stopped over in Biama. Apart from the flood, we're still trying to make sure that within the first 100 days of our office, we create projects and complete things. So we're not decided too much. But however, we want this, help to come from all these angles so that people do not suffer too much.
Okay.
I found that before you cut me, there is going to be a post-flood era in this. And the post-flood era is another part of the discussion that people should start having. If there are a system where there's a preservation of the cassava that is being uprooted now. In fact, the woman was telling me it's called pento. The food we have to harvest next year, we're harvesting them now. From the cassava to the corn, to the yams, to the cocoa yams, we're harvesting them now. The fish that we have to have by next year, the flood is pushing them away from our Ahoada-West to wherever the flood is taking them to. And so if there is a federal government can even assist with a system where we can sustain the carry that we have processed for the next 7 months so that we can have them and sell them cheaply that we're doing now. People are coming from all over the country to buy garri from us very cheaply now. And they buy for our bananas and buy for our plantains. This is the real situation we are having. And it's a national emergency that we know that if they hear us now and come to our aid, we will find ourselves, in a more better situation going forward.
Okay, so now the reason why I asked that question, if it's about 100,000 people, because I heard you say that, and basically because I wanted to ask, what are the things, the essential items you think the various displaced persons camps need?
I can give you that one. I can give you that. We already have a high level of the processed cassava garri. So they are bringing to us now, bring rice to us, bring enough beans to us to balance the carbohydrates in the rice and the garri, bring us yams, bring us oil. All right? The Bank of Industry sent us a pack that had a combo of different items in there. There was salt in it, there was, through the River State government, of course, there was salt in it, there was spices in them. So these combos are needed. So anything that is foodstuff, anything that is eatable, should start coming in trucks. And if you're not careful, by the time we start bringing this truckload of things, we may not be able to even push them all the way unless we're using speedboats. So now that we can send them there and stock them in these various camps and issue it to people who are in these camps day after day, it will assist us better now than when the emergency becomes only a speedboat emergency and transport means.
All right, so basically you're saying food items. Food items are like the most essential items.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what about...
Now. For us and local government, we are providing the mosquito net, the Ministry of Health, and of course the MOH in the local government area. They are doing their best to ensure that there is no cholera outbreak, to try to make sure that potable water, try and make sure that it's no case of malaria because the mosquitoes are provided. So those basic amenities can be dealt with here. But food that sustains people is what we cannot, as local government, provide for the quantity and amount of persons needing it in a haste and at the same time.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Before we end the conversation, I would like to, call on as many Rivers people listening to me at this moment. When I say Rivers, I'm talking about those who are, citizens basically, whether you're from or doing business in Rivers State. We would like you to extend a hand of help to the people in Ahoada-West, now basically the local governments that are surrounded by, the Orashi River extend, because if I remember what happened some 2 years ago, because I was on the field, I was there. If I remember it, my heart beats really fast for the people out there. It's such a massive destruction, what I witnessed 2 years. And if he's saying it is at the same scale and the waters are refusing to recede, then my goodness, it is a terrible sight. And of course, there is the post-flood situation that we also need to think about. These people in the various communities up just 2 years ago, basically 2 years ago, suffered flooding, and I want to believe, are yet to recover from the effects of that year's flooding, and now they are back to it. But before I let you go, Joe Esedi, what is being said about dredging the Orashi River? Is there anything being said by anybody or any of the institutions necessary for dredging?
Yes, like the deputy governor came, she had a very robust conversation with people of Ahoada-West, and we sent that SOS through her to the government that if the Orashi River is able to contain more volume of water, it means whatever is flowing upstream that to us will be able to be contained and will not have it overflowing. So that conversation is already ongoing, but it's a very big and huge project that we expect that will be initiated all the way from Aso Rock, and then in partnership with the Big House. And so we hope that before it happens again, and maybe even before next year, that should begin, so that when the volume of water comes in, we can contain it within the river banks before it overflows. If by the time it overflows, it should be receding and we'll be fine.
All right. Now, quickly, in 60 seconds, as the local government chairman talked about a partnership with, I don't know what they call these people who usually, dredge and sell the sand in trucks. Is that something that the local government
that dredging is not what we need. That's a very small, very minimal dredging that will not have as much effect as we want.
Okay.
You can dredge privately, but it won't work. You need a comprehensive project kind of dredging from the federal government.
All right.
And then lastly, before I leave you, I want to thank the proactive governor for the committee he has set up, and we want to ask the committee, chief deputy governor, that the ones she brought, we're happy of eating them. They are already finishing. Much more should come to us.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe Esedi, Chief Publicity Secretary, Ahoada-West Local Government. Chief Press Secretary. I keep saying publicity. Sorry about that. But thank you nonetheless. I do appreciate.
Thank you, Charada. Thank you.
But again, the call goes out to as many Rivers people. Nothing is too small. You're not sending it to me. You're not sending it to Nigeria Info. Find a way to send it across to Ahoada-West Local Government area. Do that, and many thanks from me. Right? Many thanks. All right. Do stay tuned. After the commercial, we'll talk some more.